Welcome back to the lab. Over the next 10 days, a lot of people are going to hit their limit. Not because they're dramatic, not because they're unstable, because Mars is entering Aries. And when Mars comes home to Aries, the part of you that has been tolerating too much starts waking up fast. So, if you have felt restless lately, irritated, tired of biting your tongue, tired of being understanding, tired of waiting for the perfect moment to act, you are not imagining it. On April 9th, Mars leaves Pisces and enters Aries, its home sign, and the energy changes immediately. This is the end of drifting, the end of vague, the end of, I'll deal with it later. Mars in Aries wants movement. It wants the direct route. It wants the truth named. It wants the decision made. But this is not just a confidence transit. This is a pressure transit. And this is not just a 10-day spike. Mars stays in Aries until May 18th. So the ignition happens now, but the real work of using that fire well unfolds over the next 6 weeks. Because Mars is not entering an empty sign. It is entering Aries, where Neptune is already blurring the line between vision and illusion. And Saturn is already sitting there demanding maturity, consequence, and structure. So this is not just fire. This is fire hitting fog, then fire hitting steel. And that is why this transit matters. Because Mars in Aries is not here to make you randomly aggressive. It is here to expose where you have been betraying yourself to keep everything manageable, where you have been over-explaining, where you have been swallowing resentment, where you have been calling self-abandonment patience, where you have been keeping the peace in ways that quietly cost you your life force. This is the people pleaser antidote transit. Not because everyone needs to become combative, because everyone needs to get honest about what their false peace is costing them. So, let's break this down the way it will actually feel. Phase 1, April 9th, the fire comes back. The first wave is simple: energy returns. For some people, that will feel amazing. Motivation comes back. You feel clearer. You want to start, launch, cut, confront, declare. But for other people, especially burnt out people, Mars in Aries does not arrive as confidence first. It arrives as irritation, short fuse, body tension, less tolerance, a sudden inability to keep smiling through something that has been wrong for a while. That matters, because sometimes anger is not the problem. Sometimes anger is the messenger. Sometimes the resentment is showing you the boundary. Sometimes the frustration is showing you the desire. Sometimes the agitation is what it feels like when your spirit is done cooperating with your own self-erasure. So if you get more reactive under this ingress, do not just ask, "Why am I so annoyed?" Ask better questions. What am I done tolerating? What have I been forcing? Where have I been shrinking to stay likable? What truth is trying to come up through the irritation? Because Mars in Aries reveals a lot through what suddenly becomes unbearable. And no, that does not mean every impulse should be obeyed, but it does mean the signal matters. Phase 2, April 13th, fire meets fog. Then we hit the first big test. On April 13th, Mars conjoins Neptune in Aries. This is the moment where the fire gets weird. At its highest expression, this can be beautiful. Inspired action, spiritual courage, creative ignition. Moving because something deep in you knows it is time. But the shadow side is just as real. Confused anger, projected conflict, false urgency. Charging forward because you are activated, not because you are clear. This is where people pick the wrong fight. This is where people mistake adrenaline for destiny. This is where somebody else's projection starts looking like your mission. And this is the trap. Not every strange vibe deserves your Mars. Some situations need a boundary. Some need calm detachment. Deny them your Mars. Give them your Venus. Not every provocation deserves a response. Not every one-sided beef deserves your life force. Some people will be acting out their own confusion. Some people will be projecting onto you. Some people will bait you just to get a reaction, because your reaction gives them access to your energy. Do not hand it over. If the facts are blurry, pause. If your anger spikes but the story still feels slippery, pause. If you suddenly want to burn something down, ask whether you are responding to truth or to a fogged up nervous system. This is where the transit separates the impulsive from the sovereign. The impulsive version says, I feel it, so I go. The sovereign version says, I feel it strongly, so I'm going to make sure I aim it right. That is real power. Phase 3, April 16th, precision power. Then on April 16th, Mars, sextiles Pluto in Aquarius. This is where the transit gets teeth, not noisy teeth, effective teeth, because Pluto deepens whatever it touches. It brings leverage, pressure, strategy, consequence. This is where the raw fire can become focused force. And that is the sweet spot of this transit. Not random bravery, directed bravery. This is where you can finally see what needs to end, what needs a hard no, what needs one decisive move, what has been draining you for too long, where your attention has been leaking into nonsense. Mars-Pluto is excellent for reclaiming your edge, for cutting cords, for ending passive cycles, for stepping out of indecision, for applying pressure exactly where the structure needs to change. This is not the part where you prove you are fearless. This is the part where you stop wasting force. Because that is the higher expression of Mars in Aries. Not more heat, more aim. Phase 4, April 19th, the reality check. Then comes Saturn. On April 19th, Mars conjoins Saturn in Aries. And that is where all the sloppy Mars energy meets reality. Saturn asks one question: can you sustain it? Can you hold the boundary after the adrenaline wears off? Can you commit to the decision once it has consequences? Can you build what you say you want? Or do you only want the emotional high of declaring it? This can feel frustrating. Delays, resistance, pressure, a sense that the universe is pushing back. But Saturn is not always saying no. Sometimes Saturn is saying, be serious, be clean, be responsible for what you start. Anyone can have a bold moment. Not everyone can build a bold life. And that is the initiation. Mars says, move. Saturn says, then mean it. Mars says, claim it. Saturn says, then carry it. Mars says, fight. Saturn says, choose carefully, because now it counts. This is why I would not waste this transit on petty drama. Your anger is too expensive for that. Your attention is too expensive for that. Your life force is too expensive for that. Do not fight every battle. Do not answer every provocation. Do not explain every boundary to people committed to misunderstanding you. Do not confuse speed with strength. Under Saturn, strength is not speed. Strength is staying power. Strength is structure. Strength is being able to hold the line without collapsing into guilt. What this transit is really burning away. At the deepest level, Mars in Aries is here to burn away the false self that survives by chronic self-silencing, the self that says yes too quickly, the self that overmanages everyone else's comfort, the self that delays action until it gets universal approval, the self that hides desire behind softer, safer language, the self that keeps calling stagnation discernment. Mars in Aries says, enough. Not because softness is weak, not because compassion is bad, not because diplomacy has no place, but because there are moments when diplomacy becomes delay, when patience becomes self-abandonment, when being the bigger person becomes a cage. Mars in Aries is not asking you to become cruel. It is asking you to become direct. And for a lot of people, directness feels dangerous at first. Good. That means it is probably real. How to use this transit well. Use the first wave to notice what your irritation is telling you. Use the Neptune wave to slow down before misfiring. Use the Pluto wave to choose one real point of leverage. Use the Saturn wave to build something durable out of what the fire revealed. That is the move. Not rage, not chaos, not I'm done theatrics with no follow through. Clarity, selection, action, structure. This transit is not asking, what do you feel like doing? It is asking, what are you finally done betraying in yourself? And that is a much more dangerous question. Because once you know the answer, you cannot unknow it. So from April 9th through April 19th, watch what gets hot. Watch where your patience gets thin. Watch where resentment reveals the boundary. Watch where exhaustion reveals the truth. Watch where your body stops cooperating with the version of your life that requires you to abandon yourself. That is the real story of Mars entering Aries. Not random aggression, not chaos, not just confidence. The return of clean instinct, the return of a spine, the return of the part of you that knows when enough is enough. And if you use it well, this transit will not just make you louder, it will make you clearer. Not more dramatic, more decisive, not more reactive, more sovereign. Because the highest expression of Mars in Aries is not, I do whatever I want. It is, I know what is mine to fight for. I know what is not worth my fire. And I am no longer available for peace that costs me myself. That is the transit. That is the work. And that is the beginning. Now let's bring this down to the houses. If you know your rising sign, listen for that first. In predictive work, the rising sign tells us where Aries falls in your chart, which tells us where this Mars transit is landing most directly. If you only know your sun sign, you can still listen to that too. But rising sign will give you the clearest house-based hit. Here's where Mars in Aries is heating things up for you. Aries rising Mars is entering your first house, so this one is personal. This is about your body, your energy, your identity, your presence, and the way you go after what you want. You may feel more driven, more visible, more impatient, and far less willing to keep tolerating situations that drain you or diminish you. The caution is reactivity. You do not need to prove your power by being loud. You need to use it cleanly. This transit is asking you to move like the person you say you are becoming. Not for a day, not for a mood, for real. Let the fire sharpen your courage, but let Saturn give it discipline. Taurus rising Mars is entering your 12th house, so this may be a quieter transit on the outside, but a much louder one on the inside. This is about hidden anger, burnout, endings, retreat, and what has been building behind the scenes. You may realize just how much resentment or exhaustion you have been carrying without naming it. The caution is turning the fire inward through self-sabotage, isolation, or acting from depletion. This transit is not asking you to force visibility. It is asking you to clear space. End what is draining you. Protect your peace. Cut cords privately if you need to. The goal here is not performance. It is release. Gemini rising Mars is entering your 11th house, energizing friends, networks, communities, collaborations, and your long-range future. You may suddenly feel less patient with vague friendships, weak alliances, or group spaces that take more from you than they give. This can also bring a stronger push toward leadership, visibility, or building something bigger with the right people. The caution is drama in the social sphere, or wasting energy on collective chaos that is not actually yours to manage. This transit wants you to get selective. Put your fire into the future you actually want. Not every group deserves access to your energy. Not every connection deserves a front row seat to where you are going. Cancer rising Mars is entering your 10th house, so this is hitting career, reputation, ambition, and public direction. You may feel more driven to make a move, claim authority, or stop waiting for permission in your professional life. This can be excellent for leadership, visibility, and decisive action around your path. The caution is public conflict, impatience with authority, or trying to force a result before the structure is ready. Do not waste this transit on ego battles. Use it to get clearer, about where you are going and what kind of authority you are willing to embody. The real question is not just, what do I want to do? It is, what am I ready to stand behind publicly? Leo rising Mars is entering your ninth house, bringing fire to belief, meaning travel, education, publishing, teaching, and your bigger vision for life. You may feel restless for more truth, more expansion, more movement, less tolerance for philosophies, routines, or beliefs that no longer fit who you are becoming. The caution is charging ahead on conviction without enough grounding or mistaking excitement for clarity. This can be a powerful transit for learning, teaching, writing, or acting on a bigger calling. Just make sure the fire is real, not inflated. Let this transit push you beyond old limits, but do not let it turn your certainty into recklessness. Virgo rising Mars is entering your eighth house, which makes this an intense transit around trust, shared resources, intimacy, debt, power, vulnerability, and energetic entanglement. You may become much less willing to carry imbalances that have quietly been draining you. This is where deeper frustration can come up fast, especially around who has access to your time, your money, your body, or your emotional labor. The caution is spiraling into control, suspicion, or acting from fear instead of truth. This transit is asking you to name what is not working in your shared dynamics. Set better terms. Cut unhealthy ties. Stop over-caring what belongs to someone else. Libra rising. Mars is entering your seventh house, so relationships are where the heat shows up first. This can intensify attraction, sharpen conflict, and bring long-avoided truths to the surface in partnerships, dating, contracts, and one-on-one dynamics. You may see more clearly where something needs honesty, stronger boundaries, or a complete reset. The caution is projecting all of the fire onto the other person and acting like they are the only issue. Mars in the seventh often reveals what you are drawing in, what you are tolerating, and what you are no longer available for. Your job here is directness. No passive aggression, no fake peace, no pretending something works when it does not. Scorpio rising. Mars is entering your sixth house, energizing work, routines, health, obligations, and the systems that hold your daily life together. You may feel a powerful urge to fix what is inefficient, confront what is draining you, or get much more serious about how your time and energy are being used. You may also feel this transit in your body first, through stress, irritation, inflammation, or simple overload. The caution is overwork and treating every problem like an emergency. This transit is not asking you to martyr yourself. It is asking you to sharpen your systems, clean up your schedule, protect your energy, build routines that support your fire instead of consuming it. Sagittarius rising. Mars is entering your fifth house, bringing fire to creativity, romance, pleasure, sexuality, confidence, and self-expression. This can be one of the more energizing placements for feeling alive again. You may feel bolder in love, freer in your art, and much less willing to dilute your desires just to seem easier or more acceptable. The caution is impulsive romance, ego clashes, or confusing chemistry with real alignment. This transit wants honesty in what you want and courage in how you create. Make the art, take the risk. Let yourself want more. Just do not confuse excitement with substance. The best use of this transit is brave joy, not reckless appetite. Capricorn rising. Mars is entering your fourth house, bringing heat to home, family, roots, private life, and your emotional foundation. This can show up as family tension, movement in the home, old anger rising, or the realization that your inner life needs stronger protection. You may feel less willing to keep peace in private situations that have been quietly costing you stability. The caution is defensiveness or reacting from old wounds instead of present truth. This transit is not here to create chaos in your foundation. It is here to show you what needs reinforcing. Stronger boundaries at home, clearer emotional honesty, decisions that make your inner world more solid, not more fragile. Aquarius rising. Mars is entering your third house, energizing speech, writing, conversations, learning, siblings, neighbors, and your immediate environment. Your mind may move faster, your words may come sharper, and your patience for indirect communication may get very thin. This can be excellent for clear expression, direct conversations, writing, teaching, or finally saying what needs to be said. The caution is reactive speech, impulsive texting, or turning clarity into unnecessary damage. Just because something is true does not mean it has to be delivered recklessly. This transit wants you to communicate with backbone and precision. Let your words cut through fog. Do not let them create more of it. Pisces. Rising. Mars is entering your second house, bringing fire to money, income, resources, possessions, values, and self-worth. You may feel much less patient with undercharging, overgiving, financial chaos, or patterns that quietly teach you to abandon your own value. This can be a powerful transit for taking action around earnings, asking for more, protecting your resources, or building something more stable. The caution is impulsive spending, panic-driven decisions, or trying to solve deeper self-worth issues with quick financial fixes. This transit is asking you to fight for stability, not just relief. Build something real. Protect what you have. Make choices that reflect what your time and energy are actually worth. So that is where Mars in Aries is asking for courage, clarity, and cleaner action in your chart. Watch the first pressure points around April 13th, April 16th, and April 19th. But remember, Mars stays in Aries until May 18th. So this is not just one hot moment. It is a 6-week lesson in where you need more backbone, better boundaries, and more honest use of your fire. And if you want to take this one level deeper, here is the Hellenistic timing piece. This next part is for those of you in a Mars Time Lord year. And before I get into this next part, if you are not sure whether that is you, look at the profection wheel on screen, find your age. That gives you your profected house for the year. If that house is ruled by Mars in your chart, Aries or Scorpio from your rising sign, then this section applies to you. If that's you, listen up. Aries rising. If you are an Aries rising in a Mars year, this is big. Mars rules you, and it also rules your 8th house of shared resources, trust, debt, and deeper entanglements. So when Mars enters Aries, the pressure lands on your body, identity, and will first. But it can quickly spill into questions of vulnerability, control, and who has too much access to your energy. This is a year to reclaim yourself. Just do not do it by detonating every complicated bond at once. Move cleanly, protect your energy, and get honest about which ties are strengthening you and which ones are quietly draining you. Taurus rising. If you are a Taurus rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 7th and your 12th. So this is about relationships, but also what is hidden, draining, private, or happening behind the scenes. Mars entering Aries can expose where a partnership has been costing you more peace than you realized, or where resentment has been building without words. This may not all play out publicly right away, but it is not small. Watch secrecy, projection, and self-sabotage. The real work here is not dramatic confrontation. It is clear withdrawal from what depletes you, and stronger boundaries with what keeps leaking into your inner life. Gemini rising. If you are a Gemini rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 6th and your 11th. So this transit can light up both your workload and your future at the same time. You may suddenly see that certain friendships, collaborations, or community spaces are eating your labor without actually supporting your vision, or that your daily systems are not built for the future you say you want. This is a year to get much more selective about who gets your effort. Clean up the schedule, tighten your alliances, stop pouring energy into collective chaos that leads nowhere. Mars wants better use of your time, not just more motion. Cancer rising. If you are a Cancer rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 5th and your 10th. So this year ties together creativity, visibility, ambition, and public direction. Mars entering Aries can bring a strong push to lead, make a move, launch something, or stop hiding what you really want to create. But it can also bring pressure around career and reputation very fast. The caution is ego conflict or chasing visibility from pure adrenaline. The best use of this transit is courageous authorship. Let your creative fire strengthen your public path. Let your ambition get more honest. And stop pretending your work can thrive if your desire is completely shut out of it. Leo rising. If you are a Leo rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 4th and your 9th. So this is about foundations and horizon at the same time. Home, family, and emotional roots are tied this year to belief, travel, study, teaching, or your bigger vision for life. Mars entering Aries can bring a strong urge to leave an old emotional pattern behind, move, expand, or act on a truth that changes your direction. The caution is acting from restlessness alone. Not every urge to escape is a calling. This transit works best when you build a wider future from a stronger foundation. Virgo rising. If you are a Virgo rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 3rd and your 8th. So this year can bring sharp conversations around trust, money, intimacy, power, and what is shared. Mars entering Aries can make your mind faster, your words sharper, and your tolerance for manipulation much lower. You may need to say the hard thing, ask the direct question, or renegotiate terms that have been quietly draining you. The caution is suspicion, overanalysis, or using words like weapons. Say what is true. Name the imbalance. But do not mistake escalation for honesty. Libra rising. If you are a Libra rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 2nd and your 7th. So, this is one of those years where relationships and self-worth get tied together very directly. Mars entering Aries can expose where a partnership is costing too much, emotionally, financially, energetically, or psychologically. It can also push you to renegotiate terms, ask for more, or get honest about what you will not keep tolerating. The caution is making it all about the other person when the deeper issue is value. This transit is not only asking who you are partnered with, it is asking what your time, peace, and effort are actually worth. Scorpio rising. If you are a Scorpio rising in a Mars year, Mars rules you and your 6th house. So, this year is intensely about the link between identity and labor, body and obligation, will and routine. Mars entering Aries can bring a surge of motivation, but it can also make it obvious where your current work habits, health patterns, or schedule are not sustainable. The caution is burnout through overdrive. Just because the energy is back does not mean you should spend it recklessly. This transit wants better systems, better boundaries, and better stewardship of your body. The real flex here is not powering through. It is building a life your nervous system can actually live inside. Sagittarius rising. If you are a Sagittarius rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 5th and your 12th. So, this year ties together desire and depletion, pleasure and retreat, creativity and hidden drains. Mars entering Aries can wake up your passion fast, romantically, sexually, creatively, artistically, but it can also expose where you have been quietly exhausted or cut off from joy. This is a strong transit for making the art, taking the risk, and letting yourself want what you want. The caution is fantasy, escapism, or pouring fire into a distraction because you are avoiding the deeper fatigue underneath it. Reclaim joy, but protect your energy. Capricorn rising. If you are a Capricorn rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your 4th and your 11th. So, this can be a year where home, family, and your emotional foundation directly affect your friendships, communities, and future plans. Mars entering Aries can make it impossible to ignore where your private life is undermining your bigger vision, or where certain communities no longer fit who you are becoming. The caution is defensiveness or group conflict that distracts from the real issue. Fix the foundation first. Protect the home front. Then put your fire into the people and plans that actually help you move forward. Aquarius rising. If you are an Aquarius rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your third and your 10th. So this year links communication and career very directly. Your voice, message, decisions, and public direction matter more. Mars entering Aries can push you to speak more directly. Pitch something, publish something, claim authority, or stop hedging in your professional life. The caution is saying something true in a way that creates unnecessary fallout. This transit wants conviction, but it also wants discipline. Use your voice strategically. Let communication become a tool of leadership, not just reaction. Pisces rising. If you are a Pisces rising in a Mars year, Mars rules your second and your 9th. So, this year ties together money, values, belief, study, publishing, and the bigger meaning structure of your life. Mars entering Aries can push you to take decisive action around income, pricing, what you stand for, or what kind of future you are willing to invest in. The caution is acting from conviction, without enough grounding or trying to buy your way into clarity. This transit wants your values to get sharper. Spend, earn, and choose in a way that tells the truth about what you actually believe now. So, if you are in a Mars year, this is one of the louder chapters of 2026 for you. Mars is not subtle when it is in its own sign. It tends to show you very quickly where pressure is building, where action is overdue, and where something in your life can no longer keep running on avoidance. Watch what gets activated first. That is usually where the story begins. And whether you're feeling this most through the house Mars is hitting, through a Mars Time Lord year, or both, the message is the same. Use this fire with intention. Let it clarify you, not consume you. If this resonated, let me know your rising sign in the comments and tell me where you're already feeling Mars and Aries show up.